Criminal Law Book I, CLJ 3. Lecture 002. Nature and Elements of Felony. In the context of Philippine law, the Revised Penal Code, RPC, defines and governs felonies. Understanding the nature of a felony, as well as its elements, is fundamental to the study and application of criminal law. Felonies are criminal acts or omissions that the law punishes. They are categorized based on how they are committed, either with intent, dolo, or due to negligence, culpa. Nature of felony. A felony in the Revised Penal Code is generally understood as an act or omission that is punishable by law. The nature of a felony is such that it involves a violation of a legal rule, resulting in harm to the state, society, or individuals. Acts and omissions. An act refers to a positive or voluntary deed that causes harm, example murder, theft. An omission is a failure to perform an act that the law requires, resulting in harm, example failure to render aid, which leads to death. The Revised Penal Code specifies that for an act or omission to be considered a felony, it must meet certain elements and be carried out with a certain state of mind, either dolo, intent, or culpa, negligence. Elements of a felony. To establish that a felony has been committed, certain essential elements must be present. These elements can be broken down into three main categories: criminal intent, dolo, or criminal negligence, culpa. Act or omission, actus reus. Punishment by law. Criminal intent, dolo, or criminal negligence, culpa. Dolo, deceit/intent. Definition: dolo refers to a deliberate intent to commit a crime. It is characterized by malice or deliberate intent to cause harm. Elements of dolo. Freedom: the person committing the felony must do so of their own free will, without being coerced or under duress. Intelligence: the person must have the mental capacity to understand the nature of the act and its consequences. Intent: there must be a clear intention to commit the wrongful act, knowing that it is against the law. Example: in a case of homicide, if a person deliberately plans and executes the killing of another, this constitutes dolo. Culpa, fault/negligence. Definition: culpa refers to a felony committed by negligence, imprudence, lack of foresight, or lack of skill. Unlike dolo, culpa does not involve intent, but rather a failure to exercise the care that a reasonable person would under the circumstances. Elements of culpa. Negligence: failure to observe the standard of care required by law, which results in harm. Imprudence: a rash action or decision that disregards possible consequences, leading to harm. Example: if a driver accidentally runs over a pedestrian due to not paying attention, this would be a case of culpa. Act or omission, actus reus. Actus reus. Definition: this is the physical element of the crime. It is the actual act or omission that causes harm. Positive acts: these are actions taken by an individual that directly lead to the commission of a felony, example shooting someone. Omissions: these are failures to act when there is a legal duty to do so, resulting in harm, example a parent failing to provide food to a child, leading to the child's death. Example: in theft, the actus reus would be the physical act of taking someone else's property without permission. Punishment by law. Legality principle. Definition: for an act or omission to be considered a felony, it must be specifically defined and punished by law. This is rooted in the principle of nullum crimen, nulla pena sine lege, no crime, no punishment without law. Legal basis: the act or omission must be punishable under the Revised Penal Code or other special laws. If the law does not define an act as a felony, then no criminal liability exists. Example: if a law explicitly states that embezzling funds from a company is punishable by imprisonment, then the act of embezzlement is a felony. Distinction between dolo and culpa. Understanding the distinction between dolo and culpa is crucial in determining the appropriate punishment and legal consequences for a felony. Dolo, intentional felonies. In cases of dolo, the offender is fully aware of their actions and has a clear intent to cause harm or commit a crime. The presence of intent makes the crime more severe, often resulting in harsher penalties. Example: a person plans and carries out a robbery. The planning and execution demonstrate clear intent, dolo. Culpa, culpable felonies. In cases of culpa, there is no intent to commit a crime. Instead, the felony arises from carelessness, negligence, or imprudence. Because the harm was not intended, the penalties are generally less severe than for felonies committed with dolo. Example: a driver accidentally hits a pedestrian because they were distracted. The lack of intent makes this a case of culpa. Legal consequences and importance. Mitigation and aggravation. The presence of dolo or culpa affects the classification of the crime and the penalties imposed. Intentional felonies, dolo, are typically punished more severely than those resulting from negligence, culpa. Circumstances. The law also considers mitigating, aggravating, or justifying circumstances when assessing criminal liability and determining the appropriate punishment. Role in criminal justice. The distinction between dolo and culpa is vital for the criminal justice system as it ensures that the punishment fits the crime. Those who commit felonies with intent are seen as more culpable and therefore deserving of harsher penalties. Rehabilitation and deterrence. Understanding the nature and elements of felonies helps in crafting legal measures aimed at rehabilitating offenders and deterring future crimes. Conclusion. The nature and elements of a felony, particularly the concepts of dolo and culpa, are fundamental in the administration of criminal justice. They help in distinguishing between intentional and negligent actions, thereby ensuring that justice is served in accordance with the severity of the crime. By defining and applying these principles, the law aims to protect society while upholding the rights of individuals within the legal framework of the Philippines.